All right, we are back with the 51 Chevy, a vehicle that I only did a brief video on a couple years ago or so. Picked up out of Texas and only did a little bit of stuff, really just taking it apart enough to get some wheels on it to be able to roll the thing and move it over to another spot where it's currently sitting right now. Got plans for this thing, obviously. Gonna fix it up. Not gonna just use it as a lawn ornament, but the plan in question, as stated before, involves the S10. And if you hadn't already figured it out, even based on the title, my plan is going to be to take the body of this thing off this frame here, do a bunch of hacking and cutting and all that good stuff. Same thing with the S10, and stick this body onto that chassis, but not just on a normal truck frame swap like Truckstang, but I'm actually going to retain all the electronics and the original power plant, steering column, and all that stuff on the S10, only removing enough to allow me to actually be able to put this body on that chassis. So underneath, all in all, it will still be an S10 with the same power plant. I will end up keeping our gauge panel right here, dashboard and everything. And because the S10 is an OBD2 truck, they make a whole bunch of aftermarket gauge stuff that plugs up to OBD2 ports to be able to read the vitals of the engine and everything. So I won't have to retain the S10's regular gauges and all. I could just put some stuff up in here to be able to kind of try to give it some originality on the dash and everything while still being modern. So right now, the biggest thing I got to do is strip this thing down because everything has to come out. The doors, the floor, what else? Our old steering column, hood, fenders, front and back. The old power plant, which for all intents is still complete. Not going to get rid of it necessarily because there might be a chance I might be able to save it based on how I've seen other people doing this type of stuff. But anything that's bolted on needs to come off. So enough talking, might as well start getting crap off of this thing because this thing's going to be going on the boards and drums just like Truckstang did. So let's go. Alright, pretty much got most of the front end off. Still got the core support and the grill and bumper to pull off, but most of the large stuff is off. Fenders and hood are off. So now I could neaten up this a little bit, get these old wires and junk out of there as well. And once I get this garbage off right here, which I'm going to reuse, start disconnecting everything on the engine so I could pull it and the transmission out because, well, we're not using the engine. So let's continue on. All right, where we stand now, as you can see, is we're completely grillless. Front clip is totally off and scattered all about right here. We also have our crane hooked up. I'm not even sure how the hell I'm going to get this thing out of here on gravel, but we're about to find out, aren't we? I had a fun time trying to deal with these motor mounts right here because all the bolts are so rusty that they rounded out. So with strategic use of the reciprocating saw right there, I've been whittling away at pieces of the mounting brackets and stuff in order to get it free and open enough to where I could be able to get this thing out of here. Now, let's see, we'll get a little spot right there. There you go. Still got a little bit of cut on there. I already got the front mount completely off, so that's good. But it's these transmission mounts that I got to work with. So I'm going to continue on cutting and try to get this piece of crap out of here. All right, got the power plant completely out and free. Ended up being able to push the whole truck back enough to be able to get plenty of room. So now our next move is going to be to lower this thing to the ground, turn our crane around, winch it back up, and pull the truck behind this thing so we could hoist this thing into it and get it out of here. So let's get this thing out. Stand by. Our next order of business is going to be to remove the remaining detachable pieces from this body, namely the doors and the rear bumper and the rear fenders. After that, I will have to pull off the steering column, or at least detach it from the body, and also see where all the body mounts are so I could destroy those bolts, because I'm sure all that stuff's rusty. So let's continue on with the fun. Stand by. Alright, well, we have all the doors off. Was going to try to look at the rear fenders, but that looked to be a bit too much of a pain in the ass, so I don't think the fenders are going to add that much weight to this thing to where I'm going to be unable to jack it up. I also managed to pull the rear bumper assembly off. That's right there. Big ugly monstrosity of brackets and stuff, but got it off after some impact wrenching and die grinding and all that, because this is a rust bucket, so most of all this stuff is so rotted out that, yeah, it's gonna have to get cut off. Walk around to the front here in the driver's side. Started disassembling the steering column and all. I don't have a damn clue how to get the damn steering column apart to where it can be removed, because, well, the steering tube comes out to here, hooks up to the gearbox. I even tried to take the gearbox apart at that point right there to see if it might be something as simple as sliding a spline shaft out, but no, it's not. This is more like a worm gear kind of setup. So I'm going to have to do some research on how to pull this crap apart, because I really don't want to cut this stuff up, because somebody might actually have use for this stuff. It's still actually usable. It works. But engine's gone already. All the clutch and brake pedal brackets and everything are disconnected. I actually started chopping all the body mount bolts off. There was a bolt right there, one over there on the opposite side, two of them in the middle right here, and two of them in the very back. Obviously all rusted, so they had to be chopped off. But we got that off. Then the last thing is these running boards. They're not actually attached to the body, but they're attached to brackets that are attached to the frame. The only point where it was attached to the body was right here, where 3 bolts held it to the very edge of the fenders. So I cut those off, and the fenders are now free from the running board. So when we get the body up in the air, we'll be able to get the whole frame out of here with the running boards, of course. And I'll have to just figure out a way to secure all that crap onto the other truck's frame once we get the initial mating of this body to that frame. All right, done a bunch of little pre-prep work on this thing before we actually start lifting it off the frame. I unfortunately used up the boards that I used when I propped up Truckstang, so I'm gonna have to grab some boards. But in the meantime, before we go and get our boards, I took a moment to gut the dash here of everything that's either bad or otherwise not of use. All the old switches that are rusted and frozen up, and all the wiper apparatus and everything. All that stuff got cut out, hammered out, chopped out, whatever. So the whole dash / firewall area is pretty much void of any kind of useless hardware that's dead. All our bolts, frame body bolts, are done, and our crane is in place right here, so we can actually start lifting this thing up. And there's a chain on there to hold everything secure on the rear end. One other thing I had to do was take a couple of ratchet straps and secure it around the roof here and around the door frame right here, because the roof is actually separating along this seam on both sides, and that side is especially worse, because when I did a test lift, it actually started separating enough to bend that door frame area. So I have to hold all that garbage together with these ratchet straps, so when we do start really lifting this thing, we don't just warp and twist the crap out of the body to the point that it's going to present a problem for us. But yeah, like I say, just got to get our boards, and then we can start getting this body off the frame. So, as usual, stand by. All right, Sketchfest round 2. This is the second time we did this kind of crap, and the second time around is even more sketchier looking than the last time. That's all because, well, this truck is already tall as hell as it is, and I couldn't tell you what kind of grade we're working with or anything, but we're on our drums and boards here, and we're completely free of the frame, as we can clearly see. So next move now is to, well, drag the frame from out of here and conclude this portion of the project. So let me move some stuff out of the way, grab the truck, chain up, and drag this thing out of here, and hopefully all continues to go well. So as usual, stand by. All right, we are all done with getting our panel truck body supported on the boards and drums. Even took a minute to add a couple extra reinforcements here in the form of a jack and a 4x4 to take the little bit of bow out of that board. And I took an extra drum I had and stuck it under the rear end right here, so if for any reason this decides to want to sag or even move back a little bit, it's going to lay on that drum before it does anything else. But this part is all done. Now give me a quick second. In case you were wondering what happened to the frame, here it is. We used the big tracker to drag this thing all the way around to the back end here to get it out of the way. What are we going to do with this frame? Probably nothing. If anybody's looking for a 51 or whatever that year range, 50, 49 through 53 or whatever year range these Chevy panel trucks are, if they need a frame, hit me up. I got a frame with the rear end, complete drive shaft, got a gas tank, all the suspension stuff is on there. The only thing that's pooched right now is our steering gearbox because, well, yeah, never mind. But here's a frame for you. I'm probably going to end up cutting off these brackets here for the running boards and welding that crap onto the S10 frame, or figuring out some kind of way to put the running boards on there, but that's for some time later in the future. Main thing is this thing's out of the way. So yeah, with that, that's going to conclude our strip down of the 51 Chevy panel truck. Our next move in the project is going to be taking this little sacrificial lamb. Got to remove the bed, got to remove all the front clip, more or less got to cut the whole cab off, save for the floor and the little bit of the inner dash section and firewall, because really we're just trying to save the wire and harness and electronics and the power plant and everything. All the other stuff has to go because we're going to mate that body to this truck. Just this portion right here, the floor portion, not the back, just the floor and the firewall. So that'll be a fun part, is hacking this thing up. So yep, till next time, stand by, stay tuned, all that, notifications, like, subscribe, check out the website, TikTok, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for some more sketchiness in the auto shop, yard, whatever. It's getting late. It's already getting into the dusk time. I'm done. Catch you later.